welcome you to another edition of All Elite Unrestricted, or as we like to call it, Aubrey Edwards Live. Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone, along with referee of the year, Aubrey Edwards.
I'll take it this time. That's fine. I appreciate it.
I'm damn right you'll take it and you'll like it.
Hey, is that what I said to your wife last night? Oh!
No shit.
So as you can tell, Will Hobbs, we have a lot of fun on this show, and it's great to have you. It's great to have you with us, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
We're doing great, man. At least I can speak for myself. I'm doing great. Aubrey's in a surly mood this morning, which is par for the course around here.
Pretty much. I'd be in a better mood if you weren't late.
Well,
let's peek behind the curtain, guys.
Yeah, here's a peek behind the curtain. I sit down in front of this very nice iMac that I spent a lot of money for, and the mouse was dead.
Oh.
So I had to run around and look for a battery, and then when I look for the battery, now it's a Bluetooth mouse. Now I got to reboot the computer. It's a long story, but I was cussing the whole way. So.
That's fine. It makes it feel better.
Heard it.
So today on the podcast, we have Will Hobbs. Thank you for joining us, Will. I'm super excited to have you here. It's been great getting to know you. I know you're a recent signing with All Elite Wrestling, and having you backstage has been super awesome. Just to kick this off with a fun story, I was working on art for Elite GM, and we're kind of working our way down the roster and trying to include everybody. So I go up to Will. I'm like, Will, what color do you want your default gear to be? Do you want the blue? Do you want something else? And he goes, well, I'm going to need orange. And I'm like, and like, that's how I found out everything was happening. It was so great. I love it. So yeah, we're here to chat today about everything that Will's done in the short amount of time he's been at the company. But before we kick that off, I want to run through your various accolades, which is a pretty good list. So 3-time All-Pro Wrestling Worldwide Internet Champion, 3-time All-Pro Wrestling Tag Team Champion, Gold Rush Pro Wrestling Dynamite Division Champion. That was a little bit of foreshadowing. Pro Championship Wrestling Champion, and United Wrestling Network Tag Team Champion. Damn, boy.
Well, what can I say? You know, I've been handling business.
Like it.
And so, Will, you make your dark debut to Orange Cassidy July of this year. And how did you get approached by coming to AEW and starting doing some work for us?
So I got a text from Marcus Mack, who owns All Pro Wrestling out here in Bay Area in California. Said he had threw my name out there, didn't say anything more of it. And then probably like 2 hours later, I get a text from QT Marshall. And I thought somebody was ripping me. So I looked at my phone. I just threw my phone down for a few hours. I'm like, okay, we got a pandemic going on. Somebody's fucking with me. So I finally responded, and QT said, hey, are you local? And I said, no, but I'll find a way out there. Found the date, hustled up some money, got a plane ticket, got a hotel, and was on my way to Jacksonville.
That's what you got to do, man. Just
I had to hustle. At that time, I just got laid off because the pandemic going on. But
sure,
I had to take a risk.
When the opportunity's there, you got to jump at it.
Yeah,
if you're ready for it. Otherwise, you're just going to go to the next person.
Yeah, so it was a little bit stressful because at the time I had my daughter was only 2 months old.
Oh my God!
It was like, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to
sit
on my ass?
You've got a couple kids, right?
Yeah, 2 boys and a girl.
Oh boy, you've got your hands full, man.
Yeah.
That says a lot about the decision that you made at that moment. I mean, being, not working and having children and having to come across country to do that. I'm sure by the time you arrived and you were backstage, you were either, well, maybe both, really nervous or really ready to go.
I was both. I was nervous because I didn't know what was going to happen, what the atmosphere was going to be like. And at the other hand, I was ready to go because, the way I was brought up with my grandparents, I can't just sit on my ass and not do nothing. So,
sure.
If this opportunity would have passed me by, I would have been kicking myself in the ass. So,
yeah.
Right.
If I made it, I made it. If I didn't, I didn't.
Love it. So you lose to Orange Cassidy, but then you have another opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was versus Darby Allin on Saturday Night Dynamite.
Yeah.
Is that it? Yep. Yeah, it was great. It was awesome. A really good match, man. But one of the interesting things about that is I remember TK was the coach for it.
Yeah, he was hands-on on that.
Right. So what was it like working with him in kind of a agent performer capacity?
You know, it was cool because he laid everything out what he wanted, so it made it super easy, you know, for Darby and myself to put the match together. And he asked me straight up, was like, Willie, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I want to do this, you know, do that. And looked at Darby, and Darby was like, okay, well, let's do it.
So was there any sort of added pressure because it's the boss man and you're working directly with him?
It was a little bit of pressure, but I mean, on the other hand, I mean, I feel like I got to prove something every time I'm out there. So it's just like, I either got to sink or swim because I got people depending on me. So, I mean, that's enough pressure right there, you know. So I did my thing,
man,
and that was it. So people depend on me.
I get that, buddy. I understand when there's a lot of people depending on you. I get it, man. Hey, so now let's go to All Out and the 21-man Battle Royal. I really think that was, at least for me as an announcer and probably for fans, it was won by Lance Archer, but to me it was kind of your coming out party. It was like, man, this guy's got something, and you proved it during that. You feel good about that Battle Royal?
Oh, yeah. So that whole day was a little emotional for me. So I'll give you guys a quick little story. It's been mentioned on air. My older brother and I were supposed to get into the business together. He was supposed to be my manager. Well, he ended up passing away on September 5th, and that's the day we had the pay-per-view. So I was motivated more than anything else. You know, just I ran into Tony the night before, and he said, I got something good for you. And I'm like, okay. And then I was in the Battle Royal for a long time.
Yeah.
And then, you know, in the elimination, have certain spots thrown at me, and it was all good. At like that moment there, I knew okay, I made the right decision. I'm supposed to be here. So I felt everything kind of lined up.
So you signed with AEW in September. Was that right after the pay-per-view?
Yeah, it was.
So tell us your contract story. Like how does that work for someone who comes from doing a couple enhancement matches to getting a full-time opportunity? So
I started off as a tier 0. And then, you know, I believe I got that offer, I want to say right after my Darby match for the Saturday Night Dynamite. And so I was like, okay, I'm on my way. I'm going to make some noise. And then I believe the pay-per-view was like, I want to say maybe 3 weeks after that. And then right after I did my whole little thing with Mox, saving him, I got to the back and had another contract waiting for me. So I got on the phone. I called a few people back at home, and when I got back to the hotel, like, I'm not a real whole emotional person, but I had to shed a few tears, and you know, and I got a lot of congratulations from a lot of people there at AEW. So it was cool.
Yeah, that's a big moment now for our listeners there. And I don't know what they are, and I don't want to really get into it. There are a lot of different tiers for talent in AEW. So when you're tier 0, you're kind of just starting out, but at least you're getting some work. But then when you move up, it's like, I don't know if it's like full-time work or full-time. A contract. It's full-time work. So now here you are, you're full-time, and you're going to face Brian Cage for the FTW Championship, which began the whole journey, which is what you're doing right now as far as being a part of Team Taz. When you started and you signed, was that always in the plan for you to be a Team Taz, or no? That's something that after maybe you wrestled Cage or something and decided to do that?
That happened right after I wrestled Cage.
Oh, really?
So as far as I know, to my knowledge, that was never the plan.
Damn. I love your match with Cage because both of you are like big body guys. And I imagine that it's a very different style than working with like smaller dudes. Mm-hmm. Is there a preference that you have?
No, I don't. So wrestling someone at the stature of Cage and like versus like a Darby, there really isn't much of a difference. I don't prefer either. I'm just gonna hit your ass hard as I can. I mean, shit. It don't matter how big, how small you are. I'm gonna hit you. So
I love it.
That's the whole thing with me.
So you have the match with Cage, and then you join Team Taz very, very shortly after. So I know that when the turn happened, for me, I was very surprised. And I'm imagining like Twitter was very surprised as well, just because you're Will Hobbs, you're this guy who's worked hard for this opportunity, and I know people had kind of heard your story, so all of a sudden you're an asshole.
Yeah. I mean, shit, everything came. I mean, sometimes I'm an asshole.
Sometimes you're an asshole on TV. What's it like working with Taz and Ricky and Brian?
It's cool. I mean, I've known Brian out here from California for a while. I've known Ricky for a while, and working with Taz, it's cool because he actually gives me like good advice, like slow down, take your moments, be who you naturally are. And a lot of times in life, I'm an asshole. I'm a mean person, but you
got kids. I think you kind of have to be.
Yeah, especially my older son's bigger than me almost. But it's just he tells me not to do the fake shit. If you're going to be real, it will portray out there, and people, either love it or hate it. But working with those three is cool.
Yeah. Taz, as you probably know, when he was a worker, when he was in the ring, came across as really legit.
Yeah.
And in real life, he really is. He's a legit tough guy. And he's also a big pain in the ass. But that's from me, not from you, and not from Aubrey. He's a gigantic, colossal, as big a pain in the ass as you want to find in real life. Did I say he was a pain in the ass? I don't know if I've said that. I got that across or not.
A little bit. I don't know if people understand, but
but here's but the fact is that he was legit, and I know he's legit, and he has some very good advice about how you should portray yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of rubbed off on you. You've seemed to me, you've seemed to me that you've taken this heel character quite well.
Yeah.
Your demeanor, you look different when you come out. I know you're wearing the orange, and I get that, and that's Taz's color, but your facial expressions, you see what I'm saying? You get that.
I can express now, like I really want to beat somebody to fuck up. Like I get that. Like it's okay to present that now. I don't have to worry about anything. So
right.
So where does the name Will Hobbs come from? Because I immediately assume it's Fast and the Furious related.
Yes. So my actual last name isn't Hobbs. It's close to that. So I have people growing up calling me Hobbs. I'm a big Spider-Man fan, and I used to have people call me Will Hobgoblin, and I'm pretty sure that's going to go out everywhere. But it is. I'm a whole fan of the whole Fast and Furious franchise. So
it's the greatest franchise known to man.
Paired up, but I do like the name Powerhouse Hobbs now.
That's good. Yeah. How did that change happen?
TK, he's like, you're a powerhouse. I'm like, cool. Let's go.
Boss man says it. Guess it's true.
Yeah, hey. I throw people around, so.
One thing before we take before we stop here and change directions on your career, it has to be, I would think, and I know this is your job, and this is your passion, and you're being very successful, and the same thing can apply to you, Aubrey. You guys that come out from the West Coast and take that long flight every other week, or if we're doing live shows each week, it's got to be a long week for you, man.
It is. I board. Usually, I leave out of San Francisco, so I'm usually on the plane about 6 a.m.
Yeah, same. I think I get on at like 7. It's a good like 7.5 total of air travel. Mm-hmm. You get airline status real fast, though.
Moving on up.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah, but they talk so much. Is there jet lag for you when you're performing?
No.
I mean, no, there's not. Okay.
No, I haven't had anything. Oh, and nah, no, it's about
Okay.
the same.
All right.
I think any tiredness comes from the fact that we're doing dark until 2 a.m. in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's probably the thing that's most exhausting.
We are talking with Will Hobbs on AEW Unrestricted.
This is AEW Unrestricted, the official podcast of All Elite Wrestling. Aubrey Edwards and Tony Schiavone here with Powerhouse Hobbs, newest addition to Team Taz. We talked a tiny bit about your background, but I want to kind of dive into that a little bit more. I know you've mentioned in previous interviews you've wanted to wrestle since you were, I think, 4 years old. So how'd you get into wrestling?
So my grandparents moved from a small town in Mississippi out to San Francisco. And so they lived right down the street from the Cow Palace. So growing up, all I heard was stories about Pat Patterson, Ray Stevens, Pepper Gomez, Kenji Shibuya, High Chief Peter Maivia. So wrestling was always in my house. So by the time I remember it, it was already on TV. By the time I went to my first show, I already knew that's what I wanted to do.
So that first live show was Cow Palace?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good way to start.
What a phenomenal building.
Yeah.
I mean, really steeped in wrestling legend.
Oh, yeah. And I actually got to do, I first met Cody at the Cow Palace. So we did a show at the Cow Palace. He did a big cage match there.
Oh, I think I remember that.
Yeah. So
Right.
we did a show out there. And just the fact that I grew up going to this building and I got to perform in this building, that's pretty dope.
That is badass. I wonder how many people on the indies have had that kind of opportunity. It's like the place
I don't know.
the place where wrestling is kind of established as a part of your life, and then it's just kind of like, oh yeah, this is where I do bookings on the weekend.
It was cool. I got to perform twice there, and dope.
So APW is where you trained and first started. How did you find APW?
So my dad's one of my dad's good friends actually used to wrestle at APW. I don't know if you've seen the movie Beyond the Mat.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But you remember the guy that was going to throw the guy off the balcony?
Yeah.
That was my dad's good friend.
Ooh.
So I grew up
Okay.
going to those little independent shows out there. And then I hooked up and trained up with Ezekiel Jackson. So I ended up doing some training with him 2016 to currently of this year. We were doing some training. So, and I went down to Texas and some training down in LA. So I'm kind of was everywhere a little bit.
Yeah, the training in Texas was with Booker T, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about that. How did you connect with him? How did that all
That was
happen?
awesome. I hit him up because I believe it was on Twitter or Facebook. They had like an open invitation. And me and my old tag partner went out there, did some things, and picked up a lot of knowledge. So that was pretty cool.
So I know you ended up working as an extra on SmackDown Live.
Mm-hmm.
Where was that? I think it was with Dolph Ziggler.
That was with Baron Corbin.
That's right.
That was in San Jose, California. So just maybe like 30 minutes from here, from where I am.
Nice.
So we did that whole thing. Had a tryout. The tryout was good. That's a long story, but I'll give you the short story. They said we didn't have anything for you right now, and then just years later, getting the carrot dangling in front of me, then pretty much told them "F you." So
yeah, the Canyon email. Hey, maybe we've got something.
Yeah, just right when I peered up on AEW, you want to, like, hey, remember me? And then the way I was raised, I don't got time for that shit.
Right.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
I'm not boo boo the fool, as my grandma used to say. So
yeah, I think Ricky had the same thing happen. Both the Team Taz guys. It's like, oh, appear on AEW. Hey, remember us? We would like to talk to you.
Hey, we've been thinking about you. We're interested in you. I was like, no, fuck you. So,
yeah.
I ain't no sucker. So
well, yeah, that is. I'm not going to make this podcast about shitting on them, but that is so disingenuous. I mean, it really is. It's so phony. It's like, come
I
on, guys.
I rather you tell me 100% no than
Yeah.
try to BS me.
Right.
I mean, it's a matter of first impressions, right? Like, what's your impression with one company versus your impression with another? Like, I like to think that at AEW we try to embrace everybody who's there, whether you're there for a one-off match, whether you're there long-term, whether you start as enhancement and turn into full-time. Like, it should be a welcoming environment where, regardless of what ends up happening, like, we're very direct but also very inviting.
All right. So during the course of the year, there's been many tragedies, and the tragedy of Shad Gaspar was a horrible one that it's been well known. You were good friends with Shad, right?
So I did I want to say maybe like 5 shows with Shad, and like after the first show, he would just come up, talk to me, ask me how things are going. He would message me on my birthday, like through Facebook, and just the knowledge I got from him. And just you can tell when people are really genuine and like are really good people. So that was very sad, and I know a few people that were very close to him. So it's just that kind of hit a little bit, because it's almost like you got someone you can look at as a big brother, and it's unfortunately we know what happened.
Yeah. It's only unfortunate I never had the chance to meet him, but I mean, every story I've heard about him is he's this fantastic guy who's had a positive impact on a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're remembering him in a very positive light. I think that's great. You're clearly into bodybuilding. Like, I think you've got traps for days.
I try.
What got you interested into bodybuilding? Have you always been like a big gym guy?
I grew up as a skinny kid, and I always had uncles that.
I don't believe that for a second.
I'll show you a picture. I will show you a picture. So I I always had big muscular people in my family, and I come from a big boned family. So I fell in love with it. Just watching your body change and develop, and it's cool.
Do you end up working out with Cage at all?
I worked out with Cage once. Cage, like I think Cage likes to go early in the morning. I don't. Yeah.
Everybody's got their time, man. I've tried working out early.
I gotta have
a couple.
I gotta have a couple meals in me before I go, and I need the sun out.
By the way, you do some cooking videos on Instagram, right?
I do cooking videos. I've had a couple cooking videos.
Okay.
The ghetto gourmet over here.
Now you mentioned you have some children.
Yes.
What do you boys think about seeing you on TV on Dynamite?
They love it. They absolutely love it. So I'll give you a story.
Okay.
When I pick my 2-year-old up from school, he's always chanting Will Hobbs, Will Hobbs, and it's crazy. And comes to find out, one of his teachers is a wrestling fan, and so she's been watching the show, which is cool. And she'll stop me and talk about wrestling. And my son is still jumping up, Will Hobbs, and every night we have to wrestle, and he's getting to the point now where he's jumping off stuff, and I'm like, stop doing that, and it's becoming a headache. My older son, he loves it. He tries to critique me and grabs me and tries to put me in different holes. So
what kind of feedback does your son have for you if he critiques you?
So he goes, well, next time maybe you should put your hands up this way and you should do that. And I'm like, all right, just
appreciate the feedback.
Yeah,
move on.
He caught me off guard one day, and I was like looking at him. I'm thinking like, well, why don't you get your ass in the ring? You go do that. So,
but how much of this is like? How much of this do you see yourself in your kids? Like, were you doing this as well as someone who grew up in a wrestling house?
A whole lot. I was jumping off my grandma's furniture And she's like, you need to stop doing this until you get paid. And I'm like, okay, well,
that's a good way to put it.
I wanted to go over her house and, jump off her couch and, just like, hey, can I do this now? Because I'm getting paid. So she probably would have hit me with a belt or a frying pan or something.
So do you end up telling your kids the same thing? Like, stop jumping off the couch until someone's paying you to do it?
Yeah, but then, I'll kind of like tell them, hey, why don't you go try this? And, we'll set up.
So you're the bad influence.
Yeah, so like we have this like jumper house, and they'll get in it and wrestle in it and do stuff, and they're working on their selling. So sometimes I'll grab my power bomb here,
Will, you on Instagram thanked Stan Lee and his comic books for getting you through some tough times in childhood. So obviously you grew up loving superheroes and loving comic books.
Yeah, I did. So where I grew up in East Palo Alto, it's like 80s, 90s, probably mid 2000s. It was the murder capital of the United States. So it was a lot of shit going on there. Like when it could be sunlight out and the street lights were on, and my grandma said, come in the house, you got to come in the house. So I got, just scared as a child, just, certain things going on, and, just reading comic books, that kind of gave me some, courage, to stand up to people, right. And, just face everything down there. Because there were times when I would get off the school bus and someone would put something in my backpack and be like, hey, you need to walk to that house. And I'm like, fuck, I didn't have a choice but to walk to that house. So
damn,
it is a rough neighborhood growing up.
Wow. Yeah. So who is you have a favorite superhero?
My favorite superhero, I got him tattooed on my arm in Venom. Or he's a supervillain / superhero. Because I know he paired up with Spider-Man a few times. So right. I always loved Venom.
Did you see the Tom Hardy movie?
I did. I was actually trying to go be an extra because they filmed some scenes in San Francisco.
Right. I thought that was a pretty cool movie. I thought they did a good job with him compared to the Venom that played in one of the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
No,
I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, and there's enough of you comic book nerds. I got to get into it.
Yeah, you do, because you're a nerd.
I am a nerd. I'm a different kind of nerd.
Well, are you ever?
Yeah. Fuck you, Tony.
Okay.
Damn.
we got some fan questions from the internet, and we're talking with Will Hobbs on AEW Unrestricted.
This is AEW Unrestricted. Aubrey and Tony talking with Will Hobbs of Team Taz. We've come to the fan questions, which we got quite a few. It was great because just a little peek behind the curtain. I literally asked Twitter for fan questions about 24 hours before the point that we're recording this. So I get to see kind of like who asked questions and how quickly. And there was just an immediate stream of questions. So you've got some fans, Will. Pretty great.
I'm better.
We got a question from Dr. Scott Kelly on Twitter. Did Ricky and Hobbs know that Sting was going to interrupt their beatdown prior to everything that had happened in Sting's debut? Or were you just told there would be an interruption?
I wasn't told anything. If I knew something was going to happen, I would have been prepared. But shit, I mean, I didn't know anything. I mean, shit. Well, I mean, it's Sting. Like it's almost like seeing a fucking ghost. Like, I don't know. Like, I still get chills and goosebumps thinking about that.
So just lights go out and you're just like, what the hell's happening?
I thought, to be honest with you, I thought something like maybe some technical difficulties happened or something. And I was like, why is the lights going out? Is somebody playing around because they don't want Cody to get hit in the head with the belt again? I'm like, shit, take away my shine.
Did someone just tell you to get out of the ring, or did you just notice that everybody else was getting out of the ring?
So I'll tell you this.
Okay.
Sting was coming out, and I saw that bat drop. And I know when he has that, like, for me watching wrestling as a kid, when he has that bat, like, he doesn't fucking play around. So I'm like, let's go. Let's get the hell out of here.
So it was natural.
Yeah.
Very cool.
No one needed to give you a cue. Like, no, I will gladly leave the room.
I'm pretty smart, to know when I need to bounce.
Okay, Mike Killiam on Twitter said, can Will consume an entire deep dish pizza in one setting? I've seen Brian Cage do it like 3 or 4 times. There's a lot of Team Taz bragging rights riding on this question.
Yeah, I can eat. Shit. I love
Just
to
very
eat.
simple answer. Just, yeah.
I mean, you challenge me. I mean, shit. You want to put some money up or something? Like,
I feel
Mike,
like
he's talking to you, not me.
I feel like this is definitely a future BTE championship skit.
Yeah, I'm down. I eat. Like, I eat. Like, growing up, my grandma didn't play. Whatever she put on your plate, like, you had to eat.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Absolutely.
It works.
I grew up in that too.
Takimoto23X on Twitter. Shout out to the Bay Area, which
Yes.
I absolutely agree with. You're San Francisco. I actually grew up in Vacaville, so
I
yeah.
I got in trouble over there a few times.
Yeah, there's not much to do, so I totally understand. So shout out to the Bay Area. What was your experience coming up in the Bay Area indie scene? And do you have any memorable matches or venues that you've worked? I know you talk about the Cow Palace, but anything else?
Cow Palace is the biggest venue. Memorable matches were probably, it's quite a few. So when I worked Jeff Cobb, so that was a big match for me.
I love Cobb. He's a sweetheart.
Yeah, that's my boy. When I worked him, working the tag match I did at the Cow Palace, that was a big match. What else? Well, those two probably that I can, like, offhand that I can think of.
GFox_1 on Twitter says, if you could pick any wrestlers, trio or group of wrestlers for Team Taz to have a feud with down the road, who would they be and why?
Right now, it would be the Inner Circle.
Oh.
Yeah. It would be the Inner Circle. Why? Because, I mean, that's the group right now.
Sure.
I mean, you look who they got. They got Jericho. They got Hager, Sammy, Santina and Ortiz. They got MJF and Wardlow now. I mean, some of the biggest names right. That's the biggest names right there.
Absolutely.
And I was always taught you go after the biggest dog in the yard. So that's the big group right there.
I also like just the idea of multiple different combinations. Like, the beauty of having a big faction like that, right, is you end up having tag matches or 6-mans or whatever it might be, and there's so many permutations of what you can end up happening, and just the amount of great matches that would come out of a feud like that would be stellar.
Yeah. Before you go to the next question, Aubrey, I could get into seeing you beat the shit out of MJF. So, and I think everybody backstage could too. So
I think everyone would be down for that.
Yeah.
I put money on that.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Hammond on Twitter. What or who was the inspiration for that sick-looking spinebuster?
Arn Anderson.
Ooh. Has he given any like feedback on your spinebuster?
So he told me when you just grab him, you just go. And I always used to, when growing up, nobody wanted to wrestle with me. Like, as a kid, like I would beg people, my cousins and my brother and my grandma would make them wrestle me. But it got to the point where nobody wanted to wrestle me. I remember watching Arn Anderson. I would just grab one of her pillows, pick it up, and just turn around and spinebuster it. So, I mean, I've had some good practice over the years. But I think I make mine's I tweak mine's a little different because I actually spin around on my foot.
Right.
So I think it allows me to get a little bit more elevation and drop them on their ass.
Yeah. Lord Furon on Twitter. Who would win in an arm wrestling contest in AEW? I imagine Powerhouse Will Hobbs, Brian Cage, and Wardlow would be the top 3.
Myself. I mean, I ain't gonna put anybody else over.
Don't ask a wrestler who's gonna win something.
I'm gonna win.
There you go.
Man,
I think they were expecting that answer.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That was a softball. Hey, Will, put yourself over.
Of course, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Bucky Robbins on Twitter asks, "Who were the first favorite wrestlers to watch growing up?"
My first favorite wrestlers would be Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, and Ravishing Rick Rude.
Ooh, good ones. Good ones.
This is kind of like the question we had from Mike Killam. I'm going to skip one and go down here to say that Show Raider wants to know, what's your calorie intake per day, Will Hobbs?
I just eat.
Do you eat just until you're not hungry? Or are you just constantly intaking food?
I got a plan that I'm following, and it's just like, okay, here's meal 1, here's meal 2, meal 3, meal 4, meal 5. I think I'm taking in like 6 meals a day. So,
damn, are you on Bryce's plan?
No, I'm going to be.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of people backstage who are getting on Bryce's plan.
Yeah, we're working on that. I think he's working on that this week. But I just follow the plan. I just eat.
Yeah. Tony, I don't know if you knew, but lots and lots of wrestlers are taking advice from Bryce Reedy over in medical. He's completely transforming our our wrestlers just with individual plans and stuff. Wardlow grew like 3 human sizes. So we've got a question from Adam Thee on Twitter. What is your favorite game on The Price is Right?
Plinko. Plinko, that's my favorite game.
Why? Why Plinko?
Just because I just like how when they drop the little thing down, it goes, you know, that and
simple entertainment.
What's the other one where they got the dude yodeling and he falls off the mountain? I don't know if they still have it or not. I grew up watching Price is Right with my grandparents. Price is Right. then after Price is Right went off, we watched Young and the Restless and Bold and the Beautiful and all that stuff.
Yeah. Just goes to show you, and I know this from experience, when they say that soap operas during the day are just for females and women, they're wrong.
Very wrong.
True, because
guys watch it too.
I remember coming home from school and my grandparents would be talking about somebody, like talking shit about somebody, and I'm trying to peep around a corner and eavesdrop, and comes to find out they're talking about what happened on Bold and the Beautiful and Young and the Restless. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah,
see, now, just a quick story about that. Back in the day when I was in baseball in the 80s, now this is before, phones, and which is going to come to our next question, before phones and before all the forms of entertainment, the baseball players used to all pack in one room in a hotel and watch soap operas up until the time they had to go to the ballpark. So it was a big deal with ball players. Now we go to this question about the phone. Gassy on Twitter, and we get this question a lot. Why do you need so many iPhones?
I never had an iPhone, and I want it.
I love that bit on Sammy's vlog, for those that don't know. Will Hobbs is basically acting as the enforcer and stealing a bunch of iPhones from people.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with all of them? I don't know. Sell them.
Yeah. And if Will Hobbs wants your phone, what are you going to do?
You just give it to him, man.
You give it to him.
Absolutely. Easy thing. Give it up. Give it up.
I don't know. I don't have an iPhone, so I feel like I'm safe.
Yeah, you're safe.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you need an iPhone.
I don't like the iPhone shaming that happens at this company.
Okay. That's what I hear.
Ricky, share the winner purse. Buy an iPhone.
I don't have an iPhone myself, so.
Green text for days, brother. That's what we got to do.
Yeah, green text for days.
Yep.
Let's see. I think we may have missed one or two here because I was skipping around a little bit. Ida Claus. And the more details, the better. Ida wants to tell you this on Twitter. Who would win a match between you, Brian Cage, and Wardlow? The more details, the better.
Once again, myself.
Mm-hmm. So get into the details of why.
I just like to fight.
Mm-hmm.
I like
to eat and fight. That's all. That's all Will does.
I fight.
Yeah.
So I think we strength wise we all match up, but like fighting wise, I think I topped him.
That might be one of those matches that ends up breaking the ring. Just so many meaty men.
Yeah. Well, Will, I think we can all say this. It's been a great ride for you so far, and it's just the beginning, right, buddy?
Oh, yeah, of course. Still got to put in that work.
Yeah. Sure, got to put in the work, and I know, especially after you've told us your story about coming from California and not having work, that it's great to be with this company at this point in time because so many people are struggling, and we're very fortunate.
True.
Very fortunate. Thanks for coming by today, Will.
Thank you
this
guys.
was super great. I love you so much. You're so nice.
I love you. Even you, Tony.
Yeah, thank you very much. Before we go, you shit heel.
I was waiting for that. I was about to say you have not called me that. Yeah, I was waiting for that.
Is that you or is that me?
Every time I walk past Tony, he'll say it or he'll mumble it. There's been times he shoved me in the wall and said that.
Oh.
So
he's going to take a spine buster.
no. Will came in as this nice, lovable guy, big, strong guy, and all of a sudden now he's turned into Team Taz. And give me that sneer. Go ahead, give me that sneer. There you go.
Oh, it's so good.
See,
it's so good.
And I said, man, you in one day you've become this shit heel. And so now every time I see him, I said, you shit heel.
Yeah.
So, but it works.
We were.
It's good.
I was flying into the Jacksonville airport and I ran into the Enterprise booth to rent a car. And someone goes, "Oh, I ran into a wrestler earlier." I'm like, "Oh, which one?" It's like, "I don't know. He was this big, tall guy, super beautiful." I'm like, "Oh, Will Hobbs."
I try.
So might be a shit heel to Tony, but to the ladies.
Hey.
All right. All right, Will. Thanks a lot, buddy. You can follow Will on Instagram at true_Will_Hobbs, on Twitter at TrueWillHobbs. So hopefully people follow you on social media. You pretty active on there?
Oh, yeah. All day, every day.
Okay.
Very much so. Remember to subscribe to AEW Unrestricted Podcast for free wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also watch the video version of this on YouTube. Just search for AEW Unrestricted.
I'm Tony Schiavone.
I'm Aubrey Edwards, and you can catch all of us on Dynamite on TNT, 8 o'clock, 7 Central, every Wednesday.
And thanks for being with us on AEW Unrestricted.
Thanks, Will. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you guys.
Bye.